authenticity, something I was thinking about yesterday, and you suggested, so perfect. So I feel very passionate about being authentic, very specific reasons, actually scientific reasons. But first, I'd like to go into why people are not comfortable or why they're not authentic. I mean, there's so many rewards that you can get from being authentic, but there's also some real problems. So I'll just start off. Why do I think people are not authentic? Well, you could lose your job, especially nowadays. You just say your thoughts on a political figure or a medical stance, and you could lose your job. You could lose friends online or face to face or family members. Being rejected in public, which in the past, if you're rejected in public, you could be killed. So perhaps on a primal level, that whole thing of if you're on stage, one of the theories, if you're on stage, is because they were going to punish you. So perhaps that's why I don't like being on stage, especially by myself. It's like I feel like I'm in danger on a very serious level. I don't really like it at all. I like being behind a computer screen.
So when you say like it's not safe to be on stage, for
Right.
example, like what do you mean? Do you mean like from judgment or getting what's the word, heckled?
No, I'm not really worried about heckle, but it just feels dangerous. And really, really quick side note, I had someone hypnotize me for 4 hours. Did it work or not? I don't know. But one of the visions of the past lives I had, I was a queen. I would tell everyone what to do. I was very callous. I just basically was in some tower, which has come up in a million meditations. And I'm like in a Madonna and a Vita. I'm telling people who are on this dirt road what to do from this book. I'm in this castle. It's freaking lavish. It's like kind of shiny, like how things are here, sort of. And I had like the brightest, the richest, the smartest people that would come to parties in my castle. And I, shout out the orders, but I'm getting to the point. And I'd close the door, I'd go, whatever. And he, at the end in the hypnosis, the guy says, "How did you die?" So I'm this queen, I'm carried on that like 4-prong, and they carry you on like a bed on posts. There's like 4 men that hold 4 posts. And I'm on this thing and they're carrying me like through the town. And I think I thought I was going to give some speech or do something a queen would do. So, or someone royal. I don't know what I was. Maybe I was a president. I don't know. And instead of taking me somewhere I thought I was going to go, they stabbed me through the bottom of it and threw me in the ocean. And it was kind of like, haha, we're done with you. We had enough of this telling people what it is. And he's like, what was the lesson? And the lesson, and I actually started tearing, which makes me think maybe this was a real hypnosis. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I have a lot of doubt in everything. And I said, the lesson was if you ever get power, you treat people well and you treat people like authentically. You don't talk down to people and you don't abuse your power. So I don't know. Maybe I was on stage at one point and then I was stabbed in a past life. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, look, I mean, you're talking about spiritual PTSD, and the soul remembers that, and past life regression, which is what it sounds like, which I've had years of experience in, is very real.
Okay.
It's very real. And that stuff comes up for a reason, because there is a memory there to heal your power now. So the first thing is to understand that, like, when you've had those visions and you've had that pain and you have that fear, to now be Jenny, or the human that you are, grounded in 2 feet, is to go, okay, I'm not going to be victimized to this. Like, now I will decide no one can attack me. I can't be emotionally abused and pricked at and killed anymore, because you have the fight in you and not the freeze. When someone took over that power, it was like a shock and you weren't able to fight back.
Right.
Well, as if you're not going to fight back now. Like, first making the decision, I'm not going to be this, like, it's not like that before. Like, yes, that did happen, which is why I'm in this life now, to understand how to be in my power. And how to be in a way that it makes me feel good. I'm living my potential, and I'm also bringing other people along. Because when you stand in your light and you stand on stage, then other people will be inspired to, be an artist or as well. But first of all, losing the victimization that, oh my God, I was killed and, murdered in a past life. Like, yes, it did happen. No, you're not crazy.
It's crazy.
Because it comes from you. So you needed that memory to come up, because you obviously had the question, well, why am I scared on stage? Like, what is it? And so the universe will deliver. This is why.
I don't like to be low down. And funny, I did live on the 14th floor of this beautiful building years ago. I didn't know how lucky I had. The Princess of Thailand was in the building. I'm high up. I was friends with the guy who worked the toll booth. I was, was friendly with the people there. And I felt like, I could just do anything because it was very hard to get into the building. You had to go through a toll booth. You had to go through these, you had to have a card to go in here, to go through the front gate. You had to have cameras in the elevators. I mean, to get to me, it was so hard. And I was like, this is amazing. So I was like, okay, especially being in media, I want to be super high up, untouchable. And that's the only way I feel safe. Otherwise, I'm literally always afraid. It's very funny. But anyway, I want to get away from my past life, possibly, or fear of being authentic. But a big part of me said, screw it, I'm just going to be authentic. But there's limits to the authenticity because no, I do not want to have, my windows smashed in, which apparently happened to Jimmy Dore, who's a big truther, he's a Democrat, and he talks about a lot of the COVID restrictions. And then another reason why we might not be authentic, perhaps we're conditioned by parents or school at a very young age. Perhaps we were authentic and we were honest, and are the kids at school or our parents shut it down or made us feel like an idiot or stupid or physically punished us from a young age. I think a lot of people are basically told, oh, okay, you were honest that one time, and they remember that one time or 10 times or 20 times they were honest, spoke their truth, and it didn't work out.
Well, can I jump in there?
Yeah, that's
you have to pick the audience, like who you are being authentic to, like what environment would be relevant to your listeners. Is it more were friends you talking, or employers, or
right?
Like, what do you like? It specifically, what do you think?
Right. Yeah, different strokes for different folks. So
no, but if it is a friends context or an employer context, right?
Let's focus on being authentic with friends on this one.
Okay.
So voluntary relationships.
Yeah. So like in that scenario, who is this person in front of me that I'm trying to be authentic with? Pick your audience. Is this person like, and this isn't a put down to that person, but are they emotionally intelligent enough for this conversation?
Yeah.
Like, are they spiritually advanced, or have they not even taken step one? If you're putting an expectation on somebody to handle the largeness of you, and they can't, when they feel threatened and they don't understand, they're likely going to attack. And their ego is going to go, oh my God, like you're dumb, or you don't get it. You're not good enough, or you're not as much as this person who's like, bringing all this energy to me. Instead of being humble and saying, wow, like, please teach me more about this, or I'd love to learn, or I admire you. What are they going to do? Likely shut you down, be jealous, do anything to defend that uncomfortable feeling they're feeling, which is, this person is really triggering my comfort zone right now, and I'm going to turn that light off. I need to extinguish immediately.
Yeah.
So like
cognitive dissonance, it's, to me, this is not the scientific explanation, but I always explain it as like the opposite of opiates. So opiates, it's a feel-good feeling. It dulls the pain. It feels great. So when we agree with someone, let's say, I don't know, you and I both like some musician. Okay, it feels good. That's a very topical example, but it can feel good to agree with people. Oh, I love your hair. I love my hair, whatever. Okay, great. We're both agreeing. It feels good. It's like, it's awesome. It's calming. But the opposite of that is I introduce something that I think is a fact. Maybe many people believe is a fact. It totally shatters and challenges your entire belief system you've held for your entire life for decades. And now you're like, this is an intruder. It's like, it's a painful, neurologically, it actually feels painful to hear things that go against your belief systems.
But then there's got to be smart, like where are you having these conversations? On a one-on-one coaching call? Yeah, it's a mind-blowing, like multiverse astral experience, but both people in that call are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually prepared to basically have their brain completely like removed and put back together again. Like, me and the client, like we're all in. A casual, picking up coffee, am I gonna like I can read something that the coffee person's making. Am I going to be like, I'm about to blow your world? No, it's not the appropriate environment, right? So
Right.
you gotta pick the environment, because that's just a bit too intense.
Yes.
You
People
know,
don't
like,
care.
why do you need to blow people's mind? They didn't kind of like, there wasn't an agreement that this conversation was that, you know.
Right, right.
It's that you don't need to go around blowing people's minds. If they tune into this and go, yeah, wow, okay, I'm prepared and I'm listening to this. But like, you can't expect the right reaction from a person when it's not their job to fulfill or validate that.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially employers, I see this all the time. And even when I worked for Fox, you know, I was very different. I was Australian, I was sponsored, you know, I was the only one. And it was a 9 to 5 job. The agreement was, I work, you pay. That's their agreement. It's not their agreement to, you know, fulfill you in other ways. That's for you to have a thriving social life, have a happy home life, have creative projects and hobbies. You know, go home from work and sit in front of the TV and drink. Like, you're not going to be like a fulfilled, happy employer. It's not actually their problem to fill holes. It's not their job, you know?
Right, which probably a lot of people don't understand. It's like but that's a separate topic. So those are reasons to why not be authentic. There's a lot of reasons to not be authentic. And as one of my friends who, I think he made world records selling cars, but he said this to me when I was 24, 25, 26. He says, don't say what you want to say what will get you the results that you want. And I mean, I think I vacillate back and forth between being so authentic that it like throws people off. And honestly, I might have more friends and more business opportunities on every level if I was more fake. But it's also to get the results of the conversation, maybe usually to resolve something, to problem solve, just to do things effectively. But you know, I saw this person, he had a lot of friends, he looked great, he did well in business. So that stuck with me. Don't say what you want to say what will get you the results that you want. Seemed to work for him. But I always knew him as a bullshit artist. So it didn't work that well, because someone like me who can see through things, I'm like, there's only so far I'm ever going to trust you. Like, we're still friends, but I know that he's always giving me what I want to hear. So.
Well, the ultimate end is when, you know, it's your birthday and you're blowing out a candle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I could wish anything, you know, and that comes from your heart. But the ultimate end is when your brain is so juiced up that it wants to experience what it came to experience. So if people are like, I want, you know, cash flow will just fix everything. Mm-hmm. That's not really the ultimate end. The ultimate end with money is to have a calm and stable relationship with money, where there's flow and movement, and you trust money and it trusts you. Like, the end result's actually to be calm and connected, you know. Like, if people want fame, well, fame's not real. Things that fame would bring you, well, I don't know, you're paid to fly, you know, in business class, and the feelings of, I'm being paid to go, you know, read my book or be paid to do my tour, and the feeling of like being taken care of on the plane or checking into the hotel and knowing that my needs are taken care of. But I've also overcome my confidence issues, that there's no, you know, canceling tours and all that. So it's, you know what I mean? It's like that ultimate, like the ultimate end. The ultimate end is also, well, what is that other person going to experience? You know, so making it about you. What's actually going to be done in exchange, you know, for that, because it's your audience that's going to have the joy, you know, from that, because you've overcome, you know, those blockages.
Yeah, providing people with joy. That's something that resonates with me. It does. Although I do kind of like to prank the audience when I do a comedy show. And I did decide semi-recently that I'm very okay. And I actually want to kind of lose 10 to 40% of the audience. And if I'm not losing 10 to 40% of them, not the whole time, but at points, I'm not really happy, because to me, that's being unauthentic, because I'm not for everyone. And this is not my quote, but anyone worth knowing is not universally liked. So if I'm getting, if 100% of my jokes are hitting 100% of everyone, it's the Disney Channel, which I guess is for,
Yes.
it's not for me though. It's never been for me. So whatever. So moving on, why be authentic? Very simple one. When we show others our true selves, we attract others who truly match with us. So that sounds nice. Okay, great. I'm gonna show you who I am. I've been pretty authentic this whole conversation. Don't think I've covered anything. I didn't out who I was talking about in Australia, so that's one thing I censored because I don't want to out someone's name, right? So I watch my mouth on that. But when you're real, then you can attract people who are attracted to you as you. And why does that matter to me? Because big idea connection, when we authentically connect and we feel connected, there's endless studies on that being one major way, and I've seen it with my own eyes with clients and friends, that can end destructive habits. You can call them addictions, addictive habits, whether it be food or alcohol or cocaine or just self-destructive tendencies, porn. I've seen how you start connecting with animals and people too would be great. And then these destructive habits seem to be less enticing. So thoughts on that? So if you're authentic, you're going to attract real people who accept you. Then you have that real connection. It's not this fake thing. And then you're able to make healthier choices.
Well, I think we should, actually go back to, well, what is the answer to being authentic? And people are like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I just talk more? And
Right.
it's like, no, it's not about making more noise. Okay, so authenticity, real, like the answer to authenticity is complete acceptance of all parts of self. So if there is a need to try and be something that you saw on Facebook, or to hide, or to be like, I've done this for 10 or 20 years and I'm still not valuing it, dismissing the self, there is a part of life from the past or of self that you are still beating yourself up for. There's something that you're either still blaming yourself for, or you didn't like how it went, or it's like, that happened to my life, but that wasn't supposed to happen. So I'm not actually accepting that that was part of my peak in the pit in my life. I haven't accepted that. Therefore, that's not enough. And therefore, I'm not springboarding. I'm trying to actually be someone or something else that I'm not.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let's say, I think so, just to make sure. Let's say I'll think of something in my life and you're something I'm not proud of, right? So
yep.
I constantly think, and I've always said, I don't think everything I've ever done is going to come out in public, but I try to always live my life. And I've thought about this consciously for at least 15 years, at least, if not 20. Make sure everything you do, if it's printed on the cover of New York Times or whatever's trendy in a couple of years, you're okay with it. Make sure every time you say something, any message I send to you, any message I send to anyone, anything I say, I actually will imagine it's going to be printed publicly. And I did this with the last two boyfriends. I've been doing this since 2019. That if there's such thing as spirit guides or ancestors or spirit, if their protective people are following me around, they're approving of what I'm doing. So I'm not doing anything that would like undermine them. I'm actually treating people well behind their back.
It's not really about if it's going to be approved of. It's what do I need to clean up within myself?
I guess
what's that thing in the past that I still, if there's resentment, or I didn't like how that went, or, if you clean it up, then there are no skeletons. Like no one can actually attack you because you've accepted that happened, and you've accepted your part in it, and maybe you've also stopped beating yourself up about it. You can only shine light and give to self before other people will accept it.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant. Like if I approve of it. I mean, sure, I'd like if there's, my grandparents, I constantly think of my grandparents who passed. I hope that they approve of my choices. And there's a few things I want approval from, sure. But yeah, if I approve of what I'm doing, then I can feel more comfortable to speak more openly. And it's kind of obvious. You can feel when someone has to be more guarded. And a lot of times I think it's maybe shame. Like I'm thinking of people I know, and it's like, I know there's certain things that people are doing that are terrible. It's like, of course you're not going to be a good actress or comedian or singer. You're going to or off stage, you're going to be very awkward to talk to because you're hiding something.
Yeah, and it's because they haven't cleaned it up in their mind and in their energy. So there's still something that's running a loop in the back of their mind that has resentment or that has shame, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the big moments in my life, like, you know, the 2 or 3 like painful where it would be like, wow, I can't, you know, go move on from this. The shame was that I went into freeze paralysis mode and didn't fight, you know, and that I like all this stuff unfolded and I was like, oh my God, I didn't have the fight in me at that moment. I was just like, oh, this is just too much. And so, you know, things like that where it's like I didn't do the best that I could at the time because I didn't know how to.
Okay.
You know,
like huge loss. I forgive you.
Yeah. No, but just things that were like, you know, a lot of death, a lot of loss, a lot of, you know, painful things that, you know, gave decades of, you know, of grief and stuff. It was like, how am I going to, like, I just can't completely forgive myself for this. I could probably, you know, I got where I would be like, okay, I think I'm 80% forgiven.
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking, you know, like my father's death, he died from suicide and not, you know, not really, yeah, I just like being in freeze mode instead of action mode because I was young, you know, things like that where you're like, how do I get over this guilt? You can actually get over something, but yeah, it took a long time because there were stages of what I was going to allow myself to let go of in terms of, you know, the punishment, how things turned out. It was a gradual thing because I was still determined that, well, now I have to have a life of a little bit of suffering. Like I can't, you know what I mean? I can't be free of it.
Right.
You know, and that was like a 20-year process. So if you can decide that, what if I don't have to be punished about this forever? What if I don't have to carry this forever? Even though, you know, your whole family might have, you know, told you or society told you, whatever, there is always still a little glimmer of hope that you can lighten that load. It's like, you know, anything from the past, it's a gray heaviness that can always, like you always have the right, you're always worthy and deserving to this, you know, lighten that burden a little bit.
Right.
That's why people can't put themselves out there authentically because there's still something not cleaned up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I guess I'll go right to the next one. I'm going to skip around. Another reason why I would say some people, you know, is it authentic? Or maybe that's more of confidence, but it's jumping to confidence. I was like, if you're going to be treating yourself not that well, maybe eating some of the wrong things, you know, having certain drugs that you're ashamed of, too much alcohol you're ashamed of. If you're not treating yourself like a god, how could you walk around feeling like a god? So you're not going to treat yourself like a god. So you're like, I'm not a god. I'm just like kind of gross. I'm filled with alcohol or I'm filled with like Cheetos. Sorry, no offense to Cheetos. Maybe a little of that. And then you're not going to treat you're not going to treat someone else well. So you're going to be a little ashamed. So maybe at a point where you have to be impressive somewhere, maybe at work, maybe it's on stage for me. Maybe you feel like you have to put on some air because you're not really proud of what's going on in here, you know, on a food level, or maybe you treated someone like garbage and you're like, oh, no one can find out about that. That's a shitty person. So I better put on a facade.
Well, the highest form of anything is energy, and frequency doesn't lie. So when your aura, in essence, is like low vibe things, and there's no judgment, but, you know, lockdown, for example, drinking alcohol, like Uber Eats, like we all do things we're not proud of to get through the day. But those things they do lower your vibration. And there's no amount of really, you know, logic that can override, well, am I being, you know, in alignment? And if I am going to have Cheetos or, you know, get hammered on a Saturday night, well, enjoy it. Like, don't drink guilt. Right. You know, with the martini, right. Like you get up on Sunday and you bounce right back if that's in alignment for you, you know?
You know what? I wanted to just go more into that because I like what you have to say on this. So I'm a very big proponent. I've studied this for like 12 or 13 years when I when I heard this, you eat certain things, that certain foods have different megahertz energy. If you study them with Kirlian photography, you can see that different foods have different auras. Like a kiwi would be
Yes.
glowing and bright, whereas fast food off the truck or kiwis that are old, 7 weeks old, will have less of a glow, less of an aura. So whether it's also, there's the conductivity of energy. Certain foods are more hydrated, simply put, they're going to conduct more than dehydrated foods. So one thing I've noticed, a lot of weird parallels. This is getting kind of weird for people who haven't studied this. Let's say you eat, I eat kiwi, okay? Kiwi has a little lettuce. I'm probably not the highest vibe because all I've eaten is like a little lettuce today and coffee water. That's not super high vibe yet, right? And I eat more cooked food in the winter, so it's like more lower vibe foods, right? So with the higher vibe foods, I find that I do seem to energetically feel differently. Electrically, perhaps I seem to attract different people, different thoughts, and even different opportunities. But let's say I'm doing things like junk food, alcohol, not talking well. I've not talked nicely to my mom for many years. That's one person where just how can you feel good about yourself? Just a lot. What else is low vibe? Sleeping at no.
Well, like bad, going to bed, bad habits, laying in bed with laptops, having that in bed with you,
having relations, even, because you do share, it's proven you share the microbiome, the bacteria of someone you're
there's an energy transfer. Yeah,
and there's an energy transfer, not even a probiotic bacteria microbiome transfer. But if you're sharing energy with someone who's lower vibe, engaging in garbage food, talking to people and themselves like trash, low megahertz food, I find that there's parallels. So if you're going to have low vibe food, I often find a correlation into associating with low vibe people, low vibe thoughts, low vibe activities. It seems to go hand in hand. So for me, when I see someone trashing their body with low vibe foods, I'm like, that could be a slippery slope. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's some people that are engaging with only the best and best thoughts and they're eating garbage, but I find that to be kind of rare.
Well, I know in my early 20s, when I was, deeply, I had chronic depression, anxiety, and guilt after my dad's death. My whole life was escapism. I was not tapped into anything. So drugs, alcohol, you name it. My aura, before I knew any of this, was damaged, that I would have night terrors. I would be too scared to go to bed because there were things that could attach and come through when I was not treating myself. When I discovered yoga, I don't know how long ago, maybe 17 years ago, so I didn't know any of this, nothing. It just automatically, started increasing my vibe, increasing my energy, and it kind of went from there. I unintentionally understood. I've never had a night terror since.
Interesting.
The reason that like when you feel the high vibe or the low vibe with things, there's an integrity because your soul knows better. If you're here meant to be a clean frequency person, that gossiping is bad. It's wrong because you feel it. You're like, I'm out of integrity. This coffee, I'm like, I can't even really taste it. It's bad for me, but I didn't sleep well, so I don't want to, stumble. Yeah. It's like the integrity of your soul will always tell you, this isn't feeling good because I know it's not right for the person that I'm supposed to be. And the person I was 20 years ago who, did all kinds of things every weekend to, the high vibe person now, I'm come in integrity. Like I put, spiritual practice first every morning. I don't skip meditation. I don't skip Reiki. I don't, do all of that. And there's a peace. And it's not about being a better person because I can't wait to go out once I travel and, have fun, but not trashing. I'm not trashing my aura anymore. I'm not being on a frequency that opens things like alcohol and smoking and drugs and stuff. It opens you up to darkness.
I think it does. Yeah,
it does. And if you're sleeping with people that are addicts as well, that will, like, things can latch onto you. It happens, like I see it all the time. I can see stuff on people. It's like I want to start pulling things off, and I'm like, no, like you gotta go around healing everyone, but you just start to see it.
I've heard
There's a
that a lot
difference.
about the dreams or the night terrors or the sleep paralysis or even being held down. I've heard
Yep.
that a lot of people who were doing the wrong things, and I think two of them told me they found Christianity that worked for them. They started doing
Yep.
more of the right thing, stopped, totally
Yep.
stopped.
You
Very
get into it once you're in a frequency like that, it opens you up to darkness in others and to the other side. I mean, I've had, maybe I don't want to say this. I mean, in a hotel once when I was in that stage of my life in West Hollywood, like literally a dark spirit came down the hall through the wall at me
cool.
because I was hungover, in the middle of the day, lying there like, oh, and it just like, it was like, oh, I'm lurking around. Who can I get into?
Right.
Where now, like, there's just I'm untouchable. You hit a different love and respect of self. I speak kindly. Like it's just yeah. You
Actually,
can't override energy and
on this.
frequency.
So, I've all different types of friends, but I often talk about relationships. I'm not going to talk about that too much today, but what are your thoughts on if you're, let's say, someone who's into all the dark side, we just mentioned, is sleeping with someone who's like freaking high vibe, what's going to happen to them? And then vice versa. Let's say someone's super high vibe, eating raw food, praying, treating people well. If they don't, they apologize. They're basically doing the right thing. And then they're hanging out with someone who litters on the floor, drinks alcohol all the time, smokes pot, treats people like garbage. Like any things that you've noticed with those types of connections?
Yeah, I mean, definitely especially with the sleeping with thing, because that latches, they stay latched onto you. So you might be someone that doesn't have addictions, but then there's something that's latched onto them that now latches onto you, that you now have a need to like go down a darker path. As you said, if there's a values conflict, that they're, if you value health and fitness and they value, sleeping in and being wasted and lazy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more like how you're going to, like, you're not going to feel like your soul won't feel at peace. Like you'll feel drained or tired, like things will feel off and you might not be able to have the words to why this is not working out. Why am I not feeling good? Why am I not energized? Why can I not wait to get home and go, oh, because they either want to feed off that light,
right,
they don't know how to get it, or maybe from the past, like you still feel like, well, if I don't hang out with these people, then I'll be alone. But your soul will always tell you, no, this is time to let this dissolve and you won't be alone, because you'll be having space for the right people.
Yeah.
I mean, like I practically probably learned this like 4 years ago when I was traveling in California and I was hanging out with my friend who's a healer and was on Hay House and like an amazing psychic, and she was naming people from my past by name that had hooks into me. I didn't ask her. She didn't know. She barely knew me. She's like, yep, this ex-boyfriend, that. And she just started cord cutting like a mofo.
Wow.
I wouldn't have known, but this is like, they're still latched on. So I don't want to sound like all paranoid, but when you're in a hard vibe, there's a personal responsibility for cleaning, like a shower.
Right. Every day?
Cord cutting.
Every day? You think people should do that? Saging,
well,
salt baths, cord cutting. Maybe every day.
Even like
seeing a lot of people.
I mean,
like
I think definitely on the moons. So definitely on full moons. Definitely on full moons. That's when you want to be like, releasing everything out of my energy, releasing everything, that's not for my highest good. If I let go of the, Reiki or, energy healing or meditation, for a few days or in lockdown, probably for a week, then I'm just susceptible to stuff. And if I go to a party, yeah, I have a shower and I do my hair and makeup, but I also do a quick little, just a 2-minute little technique. That's part of my process that I have to do after a plane ride. Oh my God, like, yeah, I'm going to need like hot yoga, a sage, a massage, because there's a lot of stuff that's been in those planes that can just, and I know that from, landing in Bali and going to see my shaman, and I walked in, she's like, Oh my God, there's like 5 things attached to your head, like before I learned this. So I was like, oh, and then you just feel the difference. You know when things are on you because you get angry, your thoughts will get fast. You'll
Right.
go from not drinking for months to all of a sudden, oh my God, I need to binge. That's not you, that's somebody else. And so rather than, oh my God, I'm a terrible person, I need to go on a diet, it's like, all right, get an energy clearing of some
Right,
sort.
right. Yeah, I've had a lot of, very interestingly enough, because I go back and forth. I don't know. I've had so much proof, but I brought Sage for the first time on a trip to Florida, and I'm like, Sage the room. My boyfriend's like, he's like, be careful with that. It's like we're gonna. Nothing happened, but I was like,
Oh
why
my
not?
God.
I just felt compelled to just bring a little, just a little bit, just a little. I was like, I don't know. I always feel really weird and discombobulated after plane rides and public
Yes.
public transportation. Anytime I'm in
Yep.
public, I have to come home and I feel like I feel weird.
And that's the thing. When you learn that you're an empath and a light worker, there will be a stage, and this happens to all my clients and anyone going through a spiritual awakening. You'll be like, oh, I can't be part of society. I can't be with people. Like you're so overloaded, and that will happen because you're like, oh my God, everything's a thing. And then you get your power back as an empath, and you learn the practical tools and the spiritual tools. Like I can say with a straight face to a vice president of a TV network, like you're not sleeping because you're under psychic attack. You don't need to go and get pills from a doctor. We actually need to pull all this crap off you
Right,
and
right.
say it with a straight face, because that's life.
I would love to
um
be there for that.
and they're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, because light attracts like. So people that come to me about things, they know that in themselves, but they didn't grow up in an environment like that. They're the only ones normally. We're always the black sheep of the family, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That's being a trailblazer. It's being a creative rebel. It's but for the greater good. Rebelling against conditioning doesn't mean like fuck you and all of this. No, it means it's okay to accept the stuff that's coming through, but do it in a way that has dignity and class and grace, and at the appropriate times to the right people.
Right.
Think of the other person's experience. Yeah.
Key. I think that's a key one that a lot of people and like social media, there's all these memes like, I'm going to be me. If you can't accept me at my worst, you can't have me at my best. And it's like,
A
sure.
little bit
Who are
harsh.
you talking to? Your employer, even, your friends or your closest people, like you have to meet them where they are. I mean, not most people are not, they're not you. Nobody's you. So you got to be considerate.
It's coming at it at a very black and white way. You'd see that this or that, and it's no, that's not what love would do. Love would come in and go, there's ways to dilute and transmute and transform both people's experience in this. So it's not like, throw something like, fuck you, I quit. Rah. Like that's like burning bridges might work for some people, but if you
Yeah.
come at it with love, that you're doing the right thing, then there are ways for things to work out a little bit more. There's always a third option. And love and joy and acceptance don't they're not black and white. It's not this or that.
Right. Yeah.
You're closing off the universe then. Like what else is
Yeah.
possible?
I think a lot of people, I don't know. I see a lot of people, they end friendships or, it's happened to me, sure. But it's like, it's hard especially when I'm balanced, taking care of myself, to really get mad at someone because you see where they're at and it's like, okay, you just understand. But anyway, jumping to the next one. This was very interesting. This is really not my thought. This is something that has plagued me forever. But I was listening to Teal Swan. I've listened to maybe 7 of her videos. It popped up yesterday and she was talking about, this is her idea, not mine. So shout out to Teal Swan. How simply put, summarizing her awesome video, is that when we're not authentic with people, that can be a cause of exhaustion. It can be a cause of being tired, and it could be a reason why people like myself need to possibly have an alone hour or an alone day or 2 or 3 after being around people. And I'm someone, I consider myself to be authentic, but basically she said, if you can't be authentic with people, if you can't be yourself and you have to put on a front for people, then yeah, there's going to need to be some recovery time, or you're going to look forward to leaving. And it's going to be stressful and it's going to be tiring. And I thought about it. I was like, I'm pretty authentic, but I still around the people, like I'll think of a film premiere I went to kind of recently. It's like maybe two people there. It's like I can just feel it because I read people well. I read the room. I can't say certain things to them, so I have to like hold back. And anytime I hold back and I'm not myself, I get like a tightness here, and it's tiring. But then around certain people like my dad, my current boyfriend, my last boyfriend, I can pretty much say whatever. It's totally fine. They're going to accept it. It's cool. We can have a dialogue. It's not tiring. I could be around them for a while. I don't need to have alone time. So yeah, I thought that was a very interesting concept. A lot of information there. Thoughts on how not being authentic can make you tired.
Well, I think number one is to pull back your power and energy so that you can't be victimized by other people. So learning the practical tools and the practical decisions that as a human being, you are not a floaty little, vulnerable empath. Yes, you were as a child, especially if you had a difficult childhood. Yes, you were as a teenager. You didn't have that power in the world, especially if you were, emotionally abused, or whatever. Now it's time to get your balls back a bit and go, oh, I actually decide that I will be grounded. What's being grounded? It's being someone that becomes athletic, that works out every day, or that walks the earth every day, that has 2 feet on the ground and goes, I am part of this. I cannot be pulled and pricked and drained and carried away anymore. You've got to, kind of cut the shit when it comes to, I'm too empathic and sensitive. Like I am too, but I can still work in, media with the most narcissistic sociopaths. Like you wouldn't, it attracts that. Okay. And it was difficult to navigate that, but I had to stop being an overly sensitive, or I'm too spiritual for this, and go, you got to survive in this real world. So let's, number one, get a grip about it. And what was I going to say? And then accept that when you get the download or intuition, like you're not probably going to go to an open-ended party for like 8 to 10 hours. Like, in yourself, I'm a 3 or 4 hour max.
Right.
And then you leave and you don't have to like say sorry. Like these are my boundaries with myself. My boundaries with myself are, we don't live in a little bubble. We live in this real world, especially, you living in New York. Like you gotta be a tough girl. We can't just hide in our apartment and go, oh, people are too draining. Like, yeah, they are. But what do I do to handle a day of that? I do an energy protection. I do a workout, weights or something. So I'm like, and then I go and do it. And I know in my head, this is a 4 hour commitment, or this is a 7 hour, 8 hour commitment. Yeah. Then I leave, then I will wash it off me. Then I'll do things for myself. Yeah. So boundaries with self that aren't up for negotiation. It's not, oh, come on, stay, longer and let yourself be a depletion. It's like, no, I came, I saw, I conquered,
That's exactly what
makes sense.
I have to mentally prepare before going somewhere. And people are like, oh, you're so outgoing, you're so confident. It's like, maybe the confident or outgoing. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I mentally prepare. All right, we're gonna have to deal with people. So you're gonna put on your people, and I'm preparing for it. It's 1.5 to 3 hours. Usually 2 hours is a sweet spot for most people. I'm done after 2 hours.
Well, you model the energy that you need. So going on stage, like for me, I have to have boundaries of a queen. If I was going on stage that night all day, I'm not going to take calls. I'm going to be in the bath. I'm going to be in yoga. I'm going to be praying. I'm going to be like, okay, like give me all the energy I need that's going to channel through me to give these people the best. I'm not going to be running around town all day and barely have enough time to get ready. There's going to be 6 to 8 hours of prep. So that when that camera goes on or that light goes on, am I going to show up a hag and oh my God, I'm so, no. That's like when you're on, you're on.
In my Sunday night show, my dad literally, I live right down the street from my dad. I can see him out my window. So I'm washing dishes with dishing gloves. I have these big purple gloves. I'm washing dishes. I see him out my window. I want to tell him a joke I just came up of. So I tell him the joke. I'm outside with dish gloves. It's freezing cold. I don't have a jacket on. Then he goes, hey, can you carry a ladder to my house? So now I have dish gloves on, no coat. I'm carrying a ladder to his house. I have a show in like 3 hours. I haven't showered. I have oil in my hair. Then I get into some texting argument, which I haven't gotten a texting argument, I don't know, in like a year or two, like for like 45
So you need to be accountable for that, right?
And I said,
a boundary you crossed with yourself.
I didn't perform. I said, I got to the show. I'm like, I'm not performing. I can't. Like, I didn't do I didn't do everything you said. I'm not prepared. You know, I need to mentally prepare.
I mean, those are the actresses on films have to have boundaries of a queen. They have their trailer for a reason, which is I'm not giving anything to anybody. Okay, I have assistants for a reason. Don't come in, don't call me. Like, it's the preparation.
Yeah.
If I have an event on a Saturday, all week the preparation, it's really nothing other than prayer and like an energy.
Right.
One of my clients used to be she was a body double for one of the Jennifers. I won't say her because she didn't ask my permission, but like we were able to smash through her SAG pay range and get more respect on set from her just being a more grounded individual that wasn't someone that could just be like poked and pulled and forced into 16 hours of overtime. So she was just so depleted and emotional. It was like drawing the energy back in. Everyone else responded, and it was like pay raise, better this, better that, and not being intimidated by all the big stars around her. It was like she got the same treatment because she had to learn how to not be like such a like so sensitive to the other people around. If that makes sense. It was like we just pulled back everything in, and then the results, everyone responds immediately because that's just how energy works.
Right. People can feel when someone's more weak and they can kind of pick on them, and then someone can feel when don't screw with me.
And in saying that, that's not to be insensitive to trauma. Okay, we're talking to adults now that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. Okay, you've had this trauma for 20 or 30 years. If this was a conversation where it had just happened,
right?
Yeah, of course we're not going to go, don't be, victimized. Like it's how much work you've done to let it go or work on yourself, that there has to be a point where it goes, okay, you're in some codependent relationship with this, or you're with the wrong coaches that keep you in a codependent relationship, or counselors. It's like, nurture and deal with that, meet all parts of self, and then what are we going to do next?
Well, I guess we could keep going, but it's almost 7:30. We said we are going to stop like 15 minutes ago. I have one more thing I want to hit on, and then we got on the authenticity. Lack of authenticity could possibly lead to recovery time, but now I think it's one reason why many people, including myself at times, it's happened, that don't feel comfortable being authentic if you're ashamed of what you're doing, or if you're not proud of what you're doing. But when I'm well rested, eating the right things, moving the right ways, speaking to people the right ways, being responsible and accomplishing things, I'm more proud of who I am. So I'm able to just let people see me who I am, less, I don't even color my hair anymore. It's like, I used to color my hair dark colors. I used to, iron it and do this. It's like, this is my hair. This is my face. This is my body. I'm very proud of it. But if I'm not taking care of it, even if I just take a week and I eat like garbage, it's like I can find myself more, in public areas, kind of just not wanting to be seen. It's kind of hard to be seen when you're not proud of what you're doing. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Well, because you're losing your connection to self. Mm-hmm. Every bag of Cheetos or every bottle of wine or every gossip, it's chipping away at the light, because that's not what guides do. That's not what the universe, like, it's out of authenticity and integrity. And that's why lockdown was so brutal, because it was like, just an energy drop in that, because we're all human. But like, any need to do that is just an opportunity to go, well, I haven't connected enough to myself. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not being transparent and vulnerable or I need to escape. Like, why do I need to block this love and support, or soul guidance or intuition? Like, I'm sabotaging this. I'm blocking love. I'm blocking feeling good for a reason. What does this self-sabotage need to protect me from? You know, why am I still needing to go around on this loop of stop, start? You know, I haven't got excited enough or feeling worthy enough to be in that ultimate end of, you know, rocking my bikini, or you know, being visible, or being on camera. It's like, why do I keep needing to spin? Like, it's a false identity. There's just a lack of connection to true, like, communicating your needs.
Well, and then I guess I'll end with this. Some ways that you've helped other people to boost their confidence. I mean, I have a whole health guidebook, so I'm not going to say anything. I'll end with you. Some ways that you've helped yourself or other people to boost their confidence. And I think when you're actually confident, and specifically that this is a whole nother hour, 2 hour conversation. I think a main reason to get confidence, it's not mantras. Sure, your mantras and self-belief, but if you have a track record, if I could look back on 37 years and be like, look, I won in February 10 times. I was winning in March 20 times. I did 3 cool things in September. It's like winning, 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 you know, 7 losses, 37 wins. I'm going to feel like a winner. I'm going to feel confident. But if I keep losing, so quick anecdote, when I was in college, I almost failed out my first year. I knew I was a good student in high school. I was a great student. I got to college. I didn't care. I cared more about friends. I thought I was all stupid. So I almost failed out. And my dad said to me, and this stuck with me, he said, you know, it doesn't really matter if you're going to fail out, but the more destructive part is that you look at yourself as like a 17 or 8-year-old, 18, and you see like loss, losing, fail, almost fail, almost fail, almost fail. That could become ingrained in who you are, and then you feel like a failure. So, you know, a track record of failure is probably going to make you feel like a failure. So one way to boost your confidence, just win at something. Whether it's having a successful conversation with someone, that could be a win. Making a meal that was successful, just try to win as much as you can. That's a very simplistic way of looking at things, but to me, it's one way of many to boost your confidence. And then when you're confident, you can be yourself because you feel good. So ways to boost your
I mean, look, they're all little practical day-to-day things. Generally how I deal with it is actually go back to the root cause. Of the resentment from teenage years or childhood years, and the loop and spin and the mean ego that's like, you fucked up, you fucked up, you fucked up. Literally bring that to the light and pull it out of their brain and dismantle all of its power and go, what actually happened, and what have you actually, you know, been blamed for or telling yourself for, and just shred that with so much light and forgiveness and compassion, and take all its power away. That there is that no longer that resentment from the past is holding you back. Then the practical things, like you said, then they get to drop in, because wow, now I am no longer carrying this punishment in my head. I am feeling free and worthy now to turn this camera on and do all this good stuff. But you got to get rid of the past.
Right. If you can feel great about the past.
Just being, it's not even feeling great. It's being free of it.
Right. That's better.
You know?
Package.
Not carrying it. Burdens, guilt, shame, resentment, wishing things were a certain way, wishing it had gone a certain way, even being resentful of the pandemic. You know, there's ways you can look, wow, it's taken, you know, a couple of years of my prime, or this and that. You know, even just for like baby making years for women, if you're unsure, it's like, oh my God. But it's like, well, what was the blessing? So I worried about that. And so I froze my eggs in 2020. You know, it was like, I'm not going to be a victim. I was like, I'm not going to be a victim to this, you know, and, you know, like, I think the path for me is different. So let's take action on it, you know, rather than, oh, you know, fuck the pandemic or China or the government, or, you know, just all that blame. It's like, okay, it's not perfect, but how do we just keep accepting, you know, what is, rather than wishing it with something different.
I will say,
then you can think.
yeah, I will say the whole like screw this, screw the government, whatever. I've had a lot of thoughts on censorship for a long time, younger age, and then I basically quit health counseling and kind of even trainings in 2016 because I'm like, there's so much censorship, so much lies. So I'm very resentful since 2016. And then with the pandemic, a lot of people jumped on my bandwagon of like resenting how the health world is. But I will say a silver lining to that is for stand-up comedy, which I fell into in November of 2020. It was mostly film sketch, but stand-up, you can be angry, you can rant on stage, you can point out hypocrisies. So it was really good. And I kept saying to people, I never voted ever. I still never voted. But at least a third, if not half of my jokes or three quarters are about like government. I can't stop because it's just what's in my head. There's so much, fuck this, fuck that, fuck that. So for stand up and for maybe creating art, you can channel that anger. It's actually pretty great.
We channel it, and as you said, and also make light of it as
Right.
well. Like it's not emotionally intelligent to walk around, blaming everything, right? Like, but that's, where comedy comes in, because it's like, this is a scary, bad situation and we're all in it. How can I bring light? How can I take its power away just a little bit?
Yeah.
And even making a joke, it's like dismantling it. And
well said.
I get it,
Yeah, I think other than comedy, and then there's some interesting conversations I've had with people, so that breeds connection because we can connect on having some similar, very passionate opinions. But other than that, yeah, there's been a weight every day since 2016 or more for me about just how the health world is. And then with the pandemic, it's like, oh my God.
Well, rather than, okay, the health world for your old point of view has tapped out. That means, my light, my leadership gets to break through this glass ceiling, and it hasn't been done before. There's not a straight step-by-step manual. Well, what does that mean? That you have to create it.
Yeah.
Okay? Welcome to being uncomfortable for the rest of your life. Because that's how we make an impact. When we're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing or how to do this. I just know that every day I will stop saying no to my intuition or to whatever is asking me to lead with this light, and I'll just keep moving forward every day.
Yeah, I think that's
okay, and I will do it with grace and respect and dignity as well.
Every day, try to feel one more question, try to feel what the right path is. And that's my question to you. The final question is, how can we feel if we're going out of alignment or doing the wrong thing or doing the right thing or with the wrong person? But yeah, I think a great way to just feel good every day is every day, every hour, try to lead with your heart, your brain, your goals. It's a balancing act between all of those, and every day, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, a month.
I mean,
and
you don't break
path,
you don't break the chain. So Jerry Seinfeld used to say this, and which is why he's a billionaire now. He has a calendar. Every day he wrote one joke, and probably still does, so that every day he just had a line that was like, I never broke the chain.
Okay.
So what flow means, and which too many Facebook coaches have overused that word to death.
Yeah.
But flow is to stay in the light. Every day I am safe. When I go into the darkness is when people sit on the couch, like massive binge sessions on the screen, not eating, not sleeping. Okay, that's darkness. The light can't reach you there because you're like, when you're in the light, just don't break that chain. So let's imagine 6 months of lockdown, alone, plus the 2 years of everything.
Oh, I have.
Okay, mine was like, there were just some bare minimums that I had to do every day, and we couldn't even really go outside for some time because there were cops everywhere. Like, it was very scary. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was like, I will always sit and do a meditation, even if my mind's going crazy. I wrote on my Instagram every day, probably three blogs a day. That was the best sometimes that I could do. But I just never broke the chain of, what are these daily non-negotiables that integrate? Because anything about, I need to be clear, that's all analysis in the mind. That's hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
Integrating it, affirmations, they're complete delusional thinking. If you're not integrating it into your body in some practical, physical way, And even if it's just like, doing a breath work on YouTube, writing a little, even if it's a private blog every day, whatever you can do. Because when things got so low and it felt like, oh my God, like we've got nothing but a shred of, like, there's a spiritual strength that you find. And I think even if you get like it is a daily it's just those little daily non-negotiables that might only take like 30 minutes or 1 hour, but on the days that I could only function as a person for 3 hours, I didn't feel guilty because I knew I'd done at least what I knew I had to do. And then that day, it was a particularly scary day, with the pandemic. It was like, yeah, like, I'm out. But I always took care of those, like,
daily non-negotiables. I love it. I'll wake up, I'll drink water every day, non-negotiable. I get sleep almost whenever. I don't negotiate it. Almost anyone. It comes before anyone, anything. Exercise, there's got to be some movement, even if it's pacing around. When I was getting ready for today, I skipped the workout. Okay. But all right, daily non-negotiables to keep you on track. And where can
and the non-negotiables, I'll say, like, the non-negotiables, like, the whole point is to have a connection with the universe.
Okay.
So the universe, like, can feel you in your breath work. The universe can feel you in your workout. Like, mine is I have to physically write. I have to have that, like, flush of, like, things come through me to get it out of me. Otherwise there's just too much, words in my head. So it's like the purging of, like, the exhaling of some kind. The whole point is to keep that connection with the universe every day and speak to the universe every day. And it's not like, oh, I've got to spend hours doing it. It just becomes a way of life,
Yeah, you know what? You re-inspire me because I always slack on this, on the connecting with the universe, the spiritual cleansing. I'm amazing with my hair smells great. I'm super cleansing my house. I Windexed before we started. That's why I was a little late because I was Windexing every piece of glass in this. But when it comes to cleansing, the doubtful side, I see my sage downstairs. I was cleaning and I was like, oh yeah, we'll get to that maybe, but I don't make it a priority. But I gotta tell you, every time I do some type of spiritual cleansing or I speak to the universe or pray, I literally was singing down the street, I'm just asking for a yacht. I don't think that's a lot. That's a line in Santa Baby. I don't care about yachts. I don't care about my boyfriend the next day, less than 24 hours, gets an offer. Hey, you guys are going to be in, Florida. I have yachts. Like, literally, I'm singing about yachts. I don't even want a yacht. And now someone offers us a yacht and we're going to hang on a yacht. Every time I ask for something, I freaking get it. So that's my final thought. Ask the universe, try to stay connected. I'm going to I'll stick with this a little more because I'm inspired by Julie. I need people like you I can kick ass on so many levels, on the cleaning and the cooking and the meal prep. And there's so many ways I'm disciplined, but I'm not disciplined when it comes to really the spirituality. I don't stick with it. So thank you for reminding me to do a lot of things, which I'm super slacking on. And where can people find you?
Thank you. The best place to find me is on my Instagram. I have nearly 3,000 pieces of content on there and post every day, plus lots of stories. I've created a place of spiritual media that is entertaining, that empowers you. There's no content on there that tells you what to do or any way to be other than to ignite and awaken that. To think me of like a big light and fire breather that comes in and just goes, and then you'll be like, wow, okay, I can do these things. So Instagram to follow me would be very appreciated.
And the name on Instagram?
Julie Ashby Official.
Got it. Perfect. Instagram's the main one. So
yes.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I think just in this pandemic, we're all in different stages. It's got to be a day by day thing. And yes, this is a temporary thing that's gone on for 3 years, but please understand that through gratitude, you will always reflect and it will make sense. Even if you've gone through terrible times, there's, been, there's death and there's sickness and there's job loss, but there's also a lot of light that will come from this. You just need to be patient. Okay. Things sometimes don't make sense for, a year, 3 years, 5 years, but it will in the end. So please just have faith, but have practical, grounded faith, and take care of your energy.
Love it. All right. Thank you very much. And we're stop recording. Let's see.
Thank you.